It's about to go down. For real.
It's so loud, but today is my first day S1 Clinicals ICU. We're gonna see how it goes, y'all. I'm really anxious, nervous.
Have my first exam for critical care tomorrow, and stressed is not even the word to describe the situation, y'all.
Guys, look at what my clinical instructor gave me. Like, I love my peds instructor. The instructors really make or break the course, that's all I'm gonna say.
Can we get rid of discussion boards in nursing school, please? Nursing school is starting to feel like a chore. So with all that being said, S1, senior one, was really the most dreadful semester of nursing school for me. I barely survived. Barely. And I say survived because let's get into the clinicals. So for my clinicals on critical care, I was placed in a hospital that was like 50 minutes away from me. And our clinicals start around like 6:25. So you already know how the drill is. Wake up around 4, 5, get ready and hit the road, because if you're late, you get written up. Written up like that if you're late, or you get a verbal warning. But my professor, while she was the sweetest lady ever, and although she did scare me a little bit at the beginning of the semester because I was kind of trifling and I wasn't reading her emails because she sent 3,000 a day, she was a really nice lady. Now, she did not play though. She did not play. You had to be there on time every day, 6:25 a.m. So driving to clinicals was really the biggest ick for me. I feel like in terms of my clinical experience, I hated the drive. I hated how far I was placed. And it was even more annoying being that I was placed at the same hospital I was placed at in my first semester, which I had already complained about because that was just way too far of a drive. And it was very unnecessary because I could get the same experience somewhere closer. But I literally had no choice but to accept it, because it's not like they were going to change it anyway. This is just a program. You're just a student. Suck it out, right? So that was critical care for me. And then for pediatrics, I luckily got placed somewhere that was really close to me, that was about 20 minutes away. And I honestly had no issues with my pediatrics rotation. It was 3 weeks and it was 1 day a week. So I was barely at the hospital. It felt like the experience I got there, it was a breath of fresh air coming from med surg and all of these rowdy adult patients. It was a breath of fresh air just being with children who just genuinely just wanted to be loved and held and taken care of. And I really loved that hospital because they're one of the most prestigious in my area. So it was really cool getting to go there and experience that rotation. And the nurses are so sweet. It's just not for me. I don't like seeing kids in pain. I don't like seeing kids suffer like that. And I just don't feel like I have the ability to be that empathetic in that type of setting every day. So I'd rather just not put myself in that type of position. However, that was the best clinical for me because of the distance in which I had to travel. It was super quick, 20-minute drive, and I would be out the house about 6, pull up around 6:20, 6:25, and we start around 6:30. So I wasn't too mad at that. My critical care was just really the biggest ick for me in terms of clinicals. I felt like my rotation there was very useless in a sense because I was not placed at a hospital that had the best ICU. And because this is critical care, you know, they're always gonna place you on a unit where you can get some critical experience, see some heparin drips, you know, some trachs, see some real surgeries, some syndromes, and like real stuff happening, see some tubes and just like lines and all that stuff. And I don't feel like I really got to see a lot of that at my rotation. Matter of fact, I feel like it was a waste of my time sometimes. Waking up to drive a good 50 minutes in the morning just to pull up, and I have a nurse who's sitting on her butt all day because she doesn't want to do anything or she doesn't want to teach. And one of the things that really gets me in clinicals is having a preceptor or a nurse that just doesn't like students. It is the worst for you to feel like you're not wanted in a space, and for it to be a 12-hour day and I continuously get this feeling of I'm not wanted here. It makes me feel like I'm wasting my time, and it made me feel like this is just not the profession I want to go into. So with that being said, I really just turned my eye away from ICU because I had like on my last day at ICU, guys, I remember just sitting there like, there's no way I drove all the way here for this. There's no way I'm sitting here 12 hours a day just doing nothing but paperwork. And it started to feel like we would just pull up and do paperwork and go home, pull up, do paperwork and go home, and just show up for the sake of showing up so we wouldn't miss our clinical hours. I had like one patient on a BiPAP that day, and honestly, like all we did was just morning and afternoon meds, and then we just sat around all day. And this was my last day of clinical. You would think it'd be exciting, you would think I'm ready to see something new, be gassed up. It was the most boring shift ever, and it just saddened me that that was like how I was going to close out my chapter of critical care clinicals. Like, it was just so depressing. You know, our teacher was very sweet in being able to switch us out into different units. So for the most part, I was majority on PCU, which is the progressive care unit. So I didn't mind the PCU because I had a really nice nurse on that unit, and he was actually a male, and he was so helpful in teaching, and he really just kept applauding me like, you're gonna be so great, you're such a strong nurse, you're very quick to find things, do things, and it's very helpful in this field. So I really loved that unit because of him mainly, but for the most part the unit was a dead med surge with like a couple of heparin drips here and there, let's be real. But I just did not find any interest in my critical care clinicals. And while some people really enjoy ICU and the rush and the constant critical thinking, I just don't know if I have it in me to constantly be monitoring every little aspect of a drug that I'm still learning. Because why am I asking the nurse and she don't even know what drug she's giving? Girl. So that was just a big no-no for me. It was a big turn off. And I found the nurses to be very much uptight in the ICU, which is very understandable because your patients are sick. They could pass away anyhow, and you really just have to constantly be on alert. I couldn't stand the environment there, and I really didn't appreciate the way people could just die at any moment. It just put me in a bad feeling. So ICU was a big no for me, and so I really didn't enjoy that rotation from the first couple of days. It was just a lot. And even though we went once a week to the hospital, it still felt like my whole week was surrounded around that clinical, just because you go, you do the assignments, you come home, and you still have more stuff to study for the lecture portion of class because, oh, well, now your exam's coming up. So it just was like, well, I might as well just be home to study if you're making me drive here for a useless clinical shift. So I had a lot of issues with my rotation, but I did get to go to the ED once, and I really enjoyed the ED. It was such a chill environment for me. Let me not say chill, okay? ED is not chill at all, but it was a lot of task doing more than it was, I guess, thinking and monitoring. I prefer doing tasks sometimes. However, I do realize that nursing comes a lot more with critical care than it does tasks, because you don't want to be doing everything if it's not necessary for your patient. Like, if your patient doesn't need the med, you don't need to give it. You still have to assess and observe and, you know, take those little clues that give you the key, like, hey, they are in pain, or hey, they might need this. So that was one thing that I was really trying to actually pick up in the ICU, was like, when is it appropriate to do this intervention? Because I feel like it's so easy for me to just be like, oh, well, let me do this because it says it's in the chart. Whereas the ICU nurses are very quick to be like, well, we really want to focus on looking at this lab and see if it's okay to do that before we step in and do this intervention. So that was a big pickup I took from ICU. But other than that, no. So for my pediatrics, yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed that rotation. The nurses are really sweet. It was a beautiful and lovely hospital, and I really liked how everything there was just made to cater to the kids. It was like this big castle that they decorated for the hospital, and it was just so beautiful. There was dinosaurs and everything everywhere. But critical care, just, I had enough. I could not stand it being there. I could not stand the drive. It was starting to get the best of me because I felt like it was getting in the way of my studies, and I was really trying my best to stay on top of my books. You guys, I was doing the thing. I was trying my best to stay on top of my books because I knew how quick this class could pick up, and I just didn't want to be caught behind because I let myself down in my previous 2 semesters by getting grades that I did not want. So my goal this semester in S1 was to stay on top of my grades and don't play. don't get no one pissed. Don't mess with the clinical instructor. So for my OB clinical, I was also placed in a very, very far hospital again. And this one was about 40 minutes away from me. And I was like, you know what? OB did not start for me until after spring break. So we did get a break. And speaking of that, the only break I had this past semester to look forward to was spring break. But spring break was not a break because I had an exam the following week on the Monday. So those were just very back to back to back to back. And I really didn't enjoy the fact that I didn't have like a quick second to just breathe, because I was always ready to start studying for the next thing. I was always ready to start moving for the next thing. And on top of that, I had to manage my work schedule in between. So it was just a lot of up and down. And sometimes I felt like I was just getting stuck in this loop of constantly working. And yeah. So for my OB clinical, I actually did enjoy a little bit, because as a kid, I thought I wanted to be a labor and delivery nurse. I really enjoyed the process of just birth in general, bringing humans to life, bringing new people into this world. So I really thought I wanted to do labor and delivery. I start the OB course. I'm learning all this new terminology, gravida, para, rooting, make Robert's position. I'm like, girl, what? I thought the baby just, no. So OB was very interesting because there was so much that went into just understanding what's going on with mom and baby. Like, if you don't know what's going on with mom and baby, you're done, because you can't just know what's going on with mom. It's mom and baby. It's a unit. So I had to really learn about everything that came with the newborn, everything that came with mom, and the labor phase and the delivery phase and the postpartum phase. But I really thought I wanted to be a labor delivery nurse. So that was really eye-opening for me to step into that realm and see what it's like. And I got to be on the mother and baby unit twice on rotation, and I got to be on the labor delivery unit once and on the NICU once. And I will say my favorite rotation was definitely the labor and delivery unit, because I just love a good adrenaline rush. Like, I said it. I love a good adrenaline rush, and that's probably why I'm really eager to start thinking about doing ER as a new grad, even though it might, kill me a little bit. But I really do love a good adrenaline rush, and I feel like L&D was giving me all the feels with that. I had to learn how to read the contractions. I had to learn what to tell mom to push. I was in a room with a mother who was delivering naturally, and you guys don't know what screaming is until you've been in that type of position, because that scared me. I saw natural birth and I got to see 3 vaginal births, and that was really just eye-opening to understand everything that we had been seeing in lab and just putting that into practice. And guys, all I can say is women deserve everything in this world, because birth is not easy, especially when you're going natural. Like, girl, get the epidural, please. But it was really cool, and I'm glad that I got to experience that. And now looking back, I don't know if I want to do labor and delivery, just because it's one of those things that constantly just gets a little bit repetitive. You use the same meds all the time, which are mostly just going to be your oxytocin and pitocins and stuff. You have the same type of syndromes or conditions that could occur, shoulder dystocia, all that stuff. But it really just, for me, was really sweet being able to see families connect in that way. I just didn't enjoy the fact that it was constantly a waiting game of like, oh, when's the baby coming? Oh, when's the baby coming? Oh, let's get the baby out. Versus, let's just let mom go through her contractions and let's not force anything. But it was really, really interesting to be able to learn the new terminology and just see the world of women's nursing, because it's something that I feel like really does need to be catered to a lot more. And sometimes when I hear about all this abortion talk on the news, it really just hits me like, guys, these women are going through a lot just to bring humans into this world. There's no reason why we should be telling them what to do with their bodies, period. But I digress. So that was really cool. I enjoyed that clinical, and it was a 4-week rotation with 1 clinical every week. This was after spring break though. So by then I was taking critical care, OB, and that role development class. In the beginning half before spring break, I was taking peds, critical care, and the role development class. For peds, I ended up getting a B, which I sadly was really hurt about, because I was so close to getting an A, and it all just fumbled because I was really pressed about my exams, and I was really pressed about how hard my critical care exam was gonna get because I was really worried about critical care the most. I heard peds was fairly easy and you could just memorize anything in peds, so I wasn't too worried about it, but I feel like I should have tried a little bit more towards the end in order to get that A that I really wanted. However, I'm still okay with that, and I will take a B because I'm just passing. And one thing that I've learned this semester is that you just need to pass in order to get to the next portion, which is your NCLEX. Nursing school is literally just a stepping stone for you to get to the NCLEX, baby. Don't let them tell you otherwise, because you could study and study and study and study, but your GPA is not really gonna take into effect or matter that much unless you're getting into higher level graduate programs. And I feel like where my GPA is right now is steady enough to get me into those programs. So my exams for critical care were once every month. We took one in February, we took one in March, we took one in April, and we took our final in May. So that made it a total of 4 exams. And our first exam was fairly easy. I don't know why I always fumble on the first exams, but that's a topic for another day. Second exam was very quote unquote challenging. However, there were a lot of people that made fairly high grades. So it really just came down to how well are you studying, because the material is right in front of you. I just didn't know where to pull my study content from. So I didn't do as well as I wanted on the first exam. That's what kind of set my grade a little bit here instead of here for the course. Now, towards the third exam, I aced it. Easiest exam on there, and final was fairly easy as well. And overall, I ended up with a B in the course, which I will probably take. I was on the verge of a B, but I will probably take. For my OB class, I ended up with a B, and that class I was okay with a B because there was just so much new terminology. It was just a new world. Like, you would step in from med search being used to all this stuff about famotidine and like Pepsid and like meds like that, and then you're stepping here where you're hearing about terbutaline, oxytocin, uterine prolapse. There was just a lot going on in OB, so I was okay with my B that I got in the class. And for role development, I got an A. So overall, it was looking like 1 A and 3 Bs. And I just had to come to the conclusion that I can't have it all. As much as I wanted a 4.0 GPA this semester, there was only so much studying that my brain could take. And that's what's going to lead me into this topic of mental health, because you guys, I didn't know how challenging this semester was going to be until I stepped into it. And I feel like maybe I'm being dramatic, but overall, nursing school is hard, especially when you have so many other factors to cater to in your life. You have friends, relationships, work. It just becomes so draining that you get stuck in a loop of, I need to be on to the next thing. I need to start studying. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. I feel like I lost a bit of myself in this past semester because I just was so stressed about studying. If I wasn't doing anything, I said I should be studying. So I forced myself to study when it wasn't clicking. I would force myself to study when I felt like I didn't have nothing planned for the day, instead of just making plans to go get a break. And I really stepped away from going to the gym, and I was just stepping away from all the little things that kept me sane through nursing school. And it really started to get to me that, wow, like, I am losing myself in this semester. Like, S1 is hard, but it's even harder with 3,000 other things to manage in my life. So it was really just challenging, and I lost lots of sleep. I lost some weight. You know, I just lost my drive to just be me, like be a girl, because nursing school don't let you be a girl. No nails, no earrings or jewelry, and you really have to be just clean cut, scrubs, you know. And I feel like this semester it pushed me to challenge myself to do the best I could in all courses, but it also just made me feel like I wanted to give up. I didn't want to see it through. Like, a part of me was like, you know what, whatever grade I get, and I'll take it and I'll run with it. So it was overall just very mentally taxing on me, because I was constantly thinking about the next move, what I should do next. Am I caught up on this grade? Am I caught up here? Am I caught up here? And now that I'm done, I can just sit back and think like, wow, I survived that trauma. I didn't understand it when people would say like nursing school is traumatic for them, whenever I would talk to a lot of nurses that I currently work with or associate myself with, but I get it now, and they mean it, guys. It is mentally exhausting, and it's survival mode. towards the end, because you're just like, let me get out of here. I'm tired of the stress. I'm tired, Grandpa. So I'm glad that I made it enough to finish the semester out with decent grades. I'll say decent because the goal was A's, baby. But I finished and I'm very proud of myself. And now that I am close to the finish line with one more semester left, it's a great feeling to know that I am pretty much at the end of this journey, getting very close to it. And I'm so excited to share with you guys all the little things that come with finishing and getting to the NCLEX and just stepping into my professional role as a nurse. And I don't know, it's really a blessing. When I first started this program, I was just thinking like, oh my goodness, could this thing just end already? And now to think that I'm almost done, it's just kind of mind-blowing. Like, time is moving so fast. But I did want to let you guys know that if you are thinking about how stressful nursing school is getting, or how you just don't want to be constantly wired in the stress and the grind and always just catching yourself falling behind, like, it's gonna take a lot of discipline and determination, a lot of prayers. And I feel like this semester really drew me closer to getting to know God, because I would not be here if it wasn't for the Lord, okay? The classes I went through, the up and down of clinicals, sometimes I would have my critical care and my peds clinical in the same week and then exam the next week. Like, do you understand that? Like, I would have 2 clinicals in a week and then exam the next week, and I'd have to throw in a work shift somewhere in between there. It was just too much. It comes down to like, how much do you want this degree though? Because nursing is still a very rewarding career, and I've seen it in some friends, I've seen it in some coworkers. It is very worth it. It just takes, they don't make you work for it. It just takes a lot of discipline. But I did learn a lot from this semester, and I feel like so far I'm becoming a very strong candidate in my nursing program. I'm so excited to see how much of the knowledge I have now will take me in my professional career, because we've learned so much, but it's almost so much to the point where, like, to remember the little things, even for the NCLEX, or just even when I'm getting ready to go into my capstone, it's like, will I really know what I'm doing? I don't know, but I know there's so many resources out there, and I'm so excited to share that journey with you guys as well. But overall, I feel like this semester there was a lot of exposure to different facilities, and there was a lot of new faces I got to see, new specialties, new aspects in nursing. It just felt like I wasn't able to practice my nursing skills, especially in OB and pediatrics. We could not give out meds. We could not give out meds in OB, and I mean, I kind of understand why. You know, we're messing with women and their kids, and there is a lot of legal issues that go into the OB realm, which kind of also makes me not want to step into it, because if you mess with someone's kid, it's you in the jail time, it's you in the court, you in the system, okay? So that is also something that scares me a little bit there. But we were not able to do a lot in OB other than pretty much just watch and observe, so I felt very useless being there, but it was really nice being able to experience it. And for peds, we also could not do too much over there. You know, these are people's kids, you're not trying to, gotta watch your back, you hear me? But it felt like a lot of that was just shadowing, and while it was cool and all, it was like, okay, well, I don't feel like I should be here if I'm not doing too much. But I do see where they're coming from in terms of exposing us to that. Critical care, there was a lot we got to do in terms of setting up IVs, priming, piggyback meds, IV medication meds. However, it was just a lot of supervision, so you'd have to make sure your med sheets were done. And I'm just glad that we only had to do at least one a day, and I would barely do one, guys. Sometimes I would just tell my instructor that, hey, we got busy, I wasn't able to give a med because we got busy, okay? But this semester S1 was pure survival mode for me. It really was. And I knew it was going to be challenging, but I was not prepared for how challenging it was, okay? The assignments so back to back. The tests were spaced out well enough, but it felt a lot because of the 3 different classes you had at one time. So everything was just kind of like hitting me at once. Like, I need to study for this, I need to study for that, I need to keep doing this. But I'm very glad that I just got through it, and this next semester is going to be a little bit more of a breeze because I'm getting towards the end of the road on this crazy, insane, but yet beautiful journey. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I really do hope you got to learn something from this video. Let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments. I will break down anything for you guys, and make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Again, my name is Selena, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.